Peace. I want to go over one of my plus lessons on understanding. I'll see if I open it now. Certainly relevant for today. Any of your questions about anything? Peace. All right. I want to get any questions that people have. Again, I'm in a quest to make these classes online useful lectures. I would like them to be interactive with whoever is going to build with me. All right, so it's very important. All right. Okay, let's see what we're doing here. Yeah, I want to keep this to make this useful, give it good brevity. I don't want to waste people's time. I want to make sure that this course, it's really become an online course. It's I don't know what the trend is, how it's all going on, but people don't really bring students to the school. They don't send people to the school anymore. The generation that we supposedly taught. Um, yeah, God, like the thing is, I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, I don't, I see people there's activities at the school, but then, during the weekdays, like these, school used to be filled. I used to get people all the time. And no matter how much online tries to say stuff, they could say anything like, they don't want to go learn from Spick or anything like that, you know. But it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than that. I don't know. I don't know want to say I have answers for anything. You know what I mean? Um, I think life has become more difficult for people, and they don't see the relevance of a knowledge of self, you know. And this is why, like, I'm gonna go through this plus lesson because the culture of being true and living God, the true and living earth, is really a culture of applied understanding, a continued application of applied understanding. So every bit of culture that one lives is their understanding. If it was ideally a culture, the way we define culture, it is continually your understanding. But I also have these ideas that there are base understandings, what I call an understanding of bias, a base understanding where there are facts of knowledge that we know. Original man is God. There's no mystery God. We build and study from that point on to prove that, but we're on that. That is our base, though. Even as we seek to disprove it, challenge it, and what have you, right? But what is keeping what is keeping people more so than ever from finding insights about the culture, about what is right and exact. I would like to hear people's thoughts on it. I can't say that I know. I'm teaching in schools and stuff, and I'm seeing a lot of different kids and things, but they're young. They're really young, and so you couldn't really say that they're not. You couldn't come out with any reasons like why they wouldn't get it or why not, because they're just not going to get it. They're not going to be offered it from anyone around them. So it's a little bit of a different story, you know. Um, we could talk about all of the faults, all of the things that we don't do. There are many, you know. There are many. Um, we could also even talk about kind of like a broad, more popular base of community activity where even community activity is formulaic or um, streamlined. You know, if you make a great point, you said it's just a different time, guy. When I get announced, I would fast just to save money to come to the city. Yeah, and essentially, if that's the answer. But I come here and I put this online, and it feels ever since the pandemic, it kind of sealed up people from going outside to seek things, and that's part of it. That's where I first saw where, like, even when we were able to freely move more. I didn't see people making their way here. I didn't see those things happen, and frankly, after all these years, I question the worth of me doing it here. Like, you know, and I'm saying that after coming here for 25 years. Um, it takes me a lot of effort to come here, and I want it to be valuable, but it has not been. It has not been because what I could give in here, I could do anywhere and set lectures and things like that, and the many forums that I have or been given, offered, etc., etc. All right, let me see. That's peace. You with supreme understanding now? Okay. Peace to the God, CIYs. That's peace. Uh, If you said I was super hungry for this knowledge, it's not like that anymore. Everyone is on a dopamine rush and false IG likes, want to be celebrities online or so-called influencers. Cannot disagree with that. CI, you said internet access gives the illusion of surety. I like that word. And instills a false sense of access to truth at your fingertips. And him said that everyone's a know-it-all in the age of information. I cannot disagree with any of that, you know. And I think people our age, whether we have knowledge or not, you know, I've been using this word a lot, but our people have really, they become the lumpen proletariat. The people are so busy surviving, many in the illusion that they are thriving over others because they see others worse, um, but do not have the time to ever think about any revolutionary ideas. And what I mean by revolutionary ideas is things that are not just against society, but things that don't seem necessary. See, we could go work out, keep in shape, even get to points where we eat well, but a knowledge of self, is it really deemed necessary to people? I don't dare to say. I dare to say no. You know, even as like we constantly build and we constantly show that the decisions that people make are made so much more strongly and with great fortitude and with the power of being able to control the repercussions, writing your history in advance, as we say, right? And yet that knowledge of self is not seen as the necessary requisite, you know, just what it is, you know. Yeah, I just want to define that Dunning-Kruger effect. It's good. It's definitely I could see it here. Cognitive bias where individuals with low ability, right, in a specific area overestimate their skills, while those with high ability may underestimate theirs. You know, um, yeah, it's like a misplaced humility all around. You know, is really what we're defining. You know, seem to be defining there. But yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I with what I'm doing and how much travel I have to do, um, and how much travel I've done this decade. You know, extra travel just to be here, um, and there's no base. There's no base here. Um, Obviously, I can't really be here in the neighborhood like I used to be. You know, like when I got knowledge and I was teaching, I was in Harlem. I really was here. You know, right? And but yeah, you know, there'll be. I think in 2026, I'll be making some changes as far as how I teach and where I teach, um, because it hasn't been here in the school. Um, you know, and I think that what we're manning at the school, the young I either have to take over or those who are here daily. There has to be something to reach out. There has to be more specific classes, more things that are interactive to the community. I noticed that the classes that really work are those that are giving specific things that not really the knowledge of self, you know, but they're supplemental activities like the boxing and things like that. Those are supplemental. Those aren't the knowledge of self, you know. So basically, more community line services, you know, and and I keep it real. Like I also think that a lot of me, part of me thinks that my and I'm probably saying this because Infinite Mind is there, is doing the knowledge, but I primarily think my time may be done here. Like it just may be done. I'm not really sure, you know. I'm trying to make this worthwhile, but it could be done from anywhere, um, at my own leisure. Um, because I haven't had less things to do. I've only had more things that need to be done, you know, life and surviving and thriving, But I do want it to be useful. Inviting people to make a trek to learn this knowledge, though, is not something I've noticed with the young that they'll do. If they get to know me and they're learning just for a little bit, it'll be all email and and text messages and the occasional call. There won't be traveling. There won't be work. Um, and it's like that with a lot of things. Right? If you said black and brown people got super red, white, and blue all of a sudden, that too. Yeah, yeah. I think the American dream of a rugged individualism's pursuits and benefits, um, has been the message for so long. Let's say in hip hop, certainly for since the '90s, so long. It doesn't matter how militant or how revolutionary or how much knowledge of self records we quote up. They were all outnumbered. Um, and it just became the thing. Um, so yeah, I always want things to be useful, and it hasn't felt that the efficacy and the efficiency of things on my end. I don't feel it's been there. You know, um, it's almost like continuing to do this is more of an ego thing a lot of times, and I don't want it to be like that. I need to be where I'm sharing things that are useful. I don't know if that's the case anymore. Um, People are just not lined up to come here to do that. There's youth that come here regularly because it's a space to be at, but there's really no activities for them, on a regular basis, you know. So it's really more like a cool hangout spot, even if they're learning, right? So we need a lot of things. I'm sure that there's gods that are really thinking about this, really thinking about this. But I'm just judging the worth of what I'm doing here, you know, trying to see whether it's worthwhile. Because a lot of the things that I could share here, I easily could do that from anywhere. I don't even have to go um, live. I could pre-record them. Um, but on that level, what I was going to share today before I get out of here, right? Um, I wanted to go through again this plus. It has so much stuff in it. A lot of this I could really end up using again and again, but I don't think this is the one actually. Hold on, let me see, because it's a plus lesson with a specific concept. I don't think this is the one. No, this should be it. I'm trying to see if this is the one. It should be the one. But let's go through. It has some good things. All right. This an understanding plus lesson I wrote back in I think 20 something 2011. It was part of a series of lecture notes to reinforce the year's theme. I used to do a yearly theme. Um, I used to do a yearly theme in the 2010s, kind of to shake up that second decade that I started. The prior year, the thematic focus was on the ideal of work, and engaging in particular work willfully, one will develop an awareness of self. One will see the conflict of the desire for righteousness and the actual reality of one's virtue in real terms. It begins with the B.E.A.C.E. Build Awareness Square Plus lesson, studying how one eats, trains, reads, writes, shares. Learning of oneself, one may take note of what they are studying, justice curriculum, another plus lesson. Now ready to begin working on developing understanding. The work year ended with the justice build, another plus lesson, with a set of major concepts to help approach in seeing one's understanding in supreme mathematics, supreme alphabet, 120 lessons, and even everything else they encounter worthy of study. All right. So I had a quote here from Yamamoto Tsunetomo, who wrote the Hagakure, The Way of the Samurai, around 1716, and he said, "It is bad when one thing becomes two. One should not look for anything else in the way of the samurai. It is the same for anything that is called a way. If one understands things in this manner, he should be able to hear about all ways and be more and more in accord with his own." Logic is the first cornerstone here in this being able to focus on all things and be more in accord with your own. There must be a scientific reasoning that one develops that identifies and eradicates the use of preconceived beliefs and unproven ideas. Logic is a science that deals with principles and criteria of validity of inference and demonstration. Logic really is supreme mathematics. I mean, really, the science of logic is what we're doing now, you know? Um, I have this thing called the criteria equation, making of a list that must be proven to prove the said idea. As in the creator criteria list, listing any and all requisites, necessary things the creator must prove to be in order to be called the creator. They include supreme biochemistry, composition. Does the creator, for example, how does it have the manipulative ability and or housing all of the elements of the universe? Uh, is it a master of universal language that details all creation? Supreme math, right? Master of time and space. These are all things that go into your criteria, and you start to study, right? Proper variables, right, are also necessary in logic. As scientists, Gandhi's insight, Mahatma Gandhi, that life is a constant experiment with is constant experiments with truth, then we must learn to set our variables correctly in order to draw proper insight. Variables are the set of attributes that are set and proven as you study changing realities. If those variables are not correct, one's variable is the mystery God causes weather, then one cannot track any new observation with any insight. As in the science and breath and the body's absorption and release of moisture has significantly impacted weather when directed, right? If it were so, looking at things differently. And with that said, we get into our approach. The approach is the work we do to truly see ourselves builds the way itself. It builds the way that we encounter any and all things. First is under this idea of approach is intention, the immediate nature that one surfaces upon all encountered ideas and observations. A few major ideals of intention are listed below, but they're all united into one intention. That our understanding developed with the intention of building the best part, the babies. This is what I mean by like a set understanding. And we go into everything with that, regardless to how we try not be or whatever. Humility, the ability to gauge one's level or state of being properly. This goes back to the Dunning-Kruger effect. This allows one a yin space, that is the opportunity to be the perfect student. The perfect student is willing to be wrong at each and every presentation of new and proven knowledge. Okay? Sincerity. It is said to be an honesty of mind and a freedom from hypocrisy. This is what is missing from the majority of those that know and those that cannot learn. To be sincere is to let go of like and dislike and willingly search what is true and right through the strictest study of self in all things. As one shares, then one will then only share what one truly thinks will aid others and not for their own aggrandizement. And that is the increasing of one's pride and vanity. Okay? No matter how much we're trying here, it's important that we share things that are really real and useful. Everything else is wasteful. Um, Virtue, the accumulation of righteous deeds. These cannot be counted. When one applies the B.A.T.E.E. exercise, that plus lesson, right, and studies their sharing, they are not to count their worth. They are to judge the development of their sharings. Boy, we all get lessons for that daily. I still get them. Principles. The proper lens of righteousness, a sense of the nature and subsequent way that promotes life, is based on developing one's principles. The ancients, before they received the facts of knowledge of self or discovered them, studied themselves closely, and the ideals of sincerity, virtue, honor, and countless ideals, morals, and ethical principles. We must study these ideas, develop them as crucial to our nature, and develop insight that promotes their natural living in this healthy society. The mastery of applying principles to the devilish society is the highest form of political education. Okay. I have some other things in there, but I'm not going to go into that. All right, what else do I want to share from this plus lesson? Okay. There's other stuff in this plus lesson, but that's really all I want to share. The other exercises, and I could share those with you if you want it. I can email it to you. But this idea, I talk about understanding and then the use of understanding like a framework for developing your understanding into principles. But essentially, though, that's really what gets lived out as knowledge. You know, that's really what's getting lived out as knowledge, and it's exceptionally vital. Exceptionally vital. Um, if there was a homework assignment I'd tell you to write about, what is the culture in this day and time? What are the contrasts in culture and living this culture when it's shown to be supposedly unnecessary or not, you know, something supplemental at a very distant time. These are things I think about because in many ways it is true. In many ways it is not needed, you know, and I want people to notice that, you know, that they're doing something extra for themselves. So they learn to respect the pacing that they have, the timing that they have, and also the quality of their hard work, right? The quality of their kung fu. All right. So these are just things I want everybody to think about. Been here about a half hour, so um, that's all I'm going to give today because I really have an early morning. But more updates on how I'm going to deal with this peace course and how I'll disseminate it. You know, um, everything has to be useful. Everything has to be um, efficient. I'm at that age though, and I'm much older where just coming and hanging out at the school though, where nobody is really showing up on Thursday. And I admit it, nobody's really showing up on Thursday. Everybody that I teach is building with me personally. When I have over the last 5 years, when I have students that became my students that met here in the school, they build with me personally and don't come to the school. Even if they go to, let's say, Parliament or something, they're not coming regularly. So it's something I'm thinking about. So with that said, I'm going to leave everybody willingly in the comment section, whatever is useful, whatever is not. I really could use that survey of what is you know what is useful to everyone and what is necessary, because that's really all I intend to give at this point. Um, all right. All right. So until next time, peace.